Hey sis, welcome to the Sisterhood, Soul, and Strategy podcast, a space for women building businesses that feel as good as they look. I'm Steph, a small town girl from Wisconsin with big dreams to positively impact the world. This podcast is from the heart, where we share real conversations about building intentional businesses that thrive in every season. And the best part, we talk both soul and strategy, and we wrap it all up in sisterhood. Because let's be real, business is more fun in community. So no matter your age or stage of small business ownership, you stumbled upon this podcast for a reason. Now, let's get to the good stuff. Welcome back to the podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm so excited to be joined today by Becca Mattie, who is an occupational therapist by trade turned community leader. So tell us, what got you here? What was your journey from being an occupational therapist to a community leader?
I have, ever since even in grad school, going through school, I knew the one-on-one therapy was the start for me, but it wasn't the finish line. And I started my private practice with Honeybee OT back in 2021 and have been doing that ever since and serving the families of our community. And then recently, as my family has evolved and grown, and as I've evolved as a leader, I've just recognized this still wasn't my finish line. Honeybee OT wasn't my finish line, and I needed to create a space that was for me. And so I am transitioning now to owning Grow Beyond Collective and leading and hopefully guiding other practitioners into building practices that are sustainable and helps them prevent burnout. Because I have my own journey of burnout that I want to hopefully help others avoid and build practices that not only serve the community they want to serve, but also fills up their cup and serves their life and their personal goals and priorities.
Yes. And that's so brave and that's so much awareness of you, because so often I think we start our first business and we think this is it. I know that's what I thought for a really long time. And then to hit a point where we realize, oh, there's more, and there's more for me.
Yeah.
And I want to explore what that could be to be able to kind of take off a hat a little bit as that OT and put on a new hat as a community leader and say, this is actually where I feel called to show up and lead.
Yeah. And so much of my journey has been following the blueprint of what does success look like, getting the degree, getting the master's degree, and then leading the practice. And even in OT school, we were told a lot of the time as OTs, we don't move up ladders, we move horizontally, right? And I didn't want to accept that. And then the idea of being a clinic manager wasn't super appealing, that doesn't open up very often. And so I was like, how do I do this? How do I lead myself into something? And so obviously the next step was opening a private practice, but then I found myself again following a blueprint of what a successful private practice looks like. And that's when I burned out. I was working 7 days a week. I was not spending as much time at home and just trying to make ends meet and not actually becoming the leader that I wanted to be in healthcare. So that's when I had to take a step back, reevaluate, and that's where Grow Beyond Collective started to be born. And I was already getting people reaching out, asking how I started my practice, asking for advice in that area. And now I was like, well, how do I turn that into something, right? And become that for somebody so that I can take them not only from like we're meeting for coffee to just talk about private practice. I want to follow them to make sure that they get to that next step, because it's a really intimidating leap to make from working in a system to leading your own practice. And it's intimidating, but it's not impossible. And so I wanted to keep building on that.
Well, you just touched on one of the key components of starting a business is actually filling a need and a gap and a void. That's how you build a beautiful business, because the need is already there and people were already coming to you. Plus, you had experienced, you hit that that ceiling, that capacity, which I think whether you're an occupational therapist or at all, when you're creating that time for money, you can only do so much to grow. So how do you help people grow in that sustainable way. So give us your framework. So you've shifted from OT, just supporting the child and the parents, to the providers.
Yeah.
What is your framework of manifest, disrupt, and build? What does that mean?
Yeah. So this is a framework that I've kind of been developing over the last year. And it's really based on my own journey of creating a life that is meaningful and filled with purpose for myself, mixed with how I've been supporting parents, as well as how I've been speaking with some of my colleagues and peers. And it's all about setting that goal, but not stopping there, creating the goal and then having it be your part of your identity each day. So that's where the manifest comes in.
I love that
turning
word.
turning that goal into an I am statement, or I do this is who I am, so that every day I'm making choices that fulfill that identity for me. And the disrupt part is probably the hardest and the most important, and the one that I worked a lot on with my families. And that is identifying what is actually standing in our way to reaching that goal. So what is the thought pattern? What is the behavior pattern that's happening every time something that we want to change gets interrupted, right? So if we think about how, thinking about my families, how I'm responding to when my child is having a meltdown. Am I having a meltdown at the same exact time? I need to disrupt that. And to disrupt that, I have to, on the front end, do a lot more self-care and regulation activities for me before I can show up for my child when they are completely dysregulated and they need co-regulation. And so that is what I would help some families and parents see, that co-regulation piece was so important. But first we need to disrupt your pattern of just constantly showing up for your kids and never actually showing up for yourself. And so we're disrupting thought patterns, we're disrupting behavior patterns. And the build part is that final step. I don't want to say step because these three things are not happening.
They don't always happen in order.
No, they don't happen in order. And you might manifest something or disrupt something that then leads you to like, oh, wait, no, I want this to be this way. But the build aspect of it is building the environment and your surroundings and your human network to support that person you want to be, that identity, that manifestation. So not only setting up your environment for success, but then being surrounded by the people that are going to support you in a way that is meaningful, no matter what that new identity, or that, I don't like to say new identity either. This is just who I know I am, right? And that came from my own personal journey of taking a step back and saying, my identity is not occupational therapist. Yeah. My identity, I mean, I am a mom, and I am a wife, and I'm a sister, and I'm a daughter. And those are all such important things to me. But like when I tear those away, what's left? Yeah. And I didn't have an answer for it for a really long time. And I'm still kind of on that journey. But rediscovering who that person is, who that manifestation is, and then building your environment and your people around you. And that's where I also get to put in a little bit of my OT brain too, and say, not only like what are the tools that can support your environment, but how can we regulate you? Your nervous system has to be ready for it too. Yeah. Because when we are disrupting patterns, our nervous system starts to buck against that. Our nervous system says, our nervous system doesn't like change. It likes to maintain, even if that maintenance means even if that maintenance is not productive or, is not efficient or whatever that might be. It could be a really challenging pattern to break, but our nervous system, we have to feel safety. We can't just think that we're safe. I mean, we can know cognitively that we're safe, but our body has to feel safe in this change too. So then that regulation piece gets to come back as we build our environment too.
I love that. So manifest, disrupt, and build. And as a new mom with an almost 1-year-old, I'm starting to see situations where I've never been in these shoes before. So this just becomes even more apparent to me of like, what do I need to do? Yeah. And it's important work because it splays out into all areas of our life too, when we are experiencing these difficult
Right.
situations, often with our children.
Yeah.
And it's also how we show up in our work. And
Parenthood has this beautiful way of revealing patterns we didn't know we had.
Yeah.
Right? And because we are pushed to our very limits
Mm-hmm.
through whether it be exhaustion or,
Totally.
overstimulation, we're pushed to those limits that we haven't been pushed to before. And so parenthood then reveals those patterns of how we respond in those really stressful situations,
Mhm.
whether or not we were aware of those patterns and whether or not those are good patterns, right?
Right.
And so then as adults, we are now saying, okay, I don't like what this pattern is. I have to unlearn it. We
Yep.
have to disrupt it. I have to learn what I want it to look like.
Yep.
And then I have to set up the people and the environment around me to be able to support that.
Yeah.
So I need to have a partner or a co-parent who supports me when I say I need to take a break from this right now, or I need my child to have a safe space to go when they are dysregulated and I'm
Mhm.
dysregulated and we both
Yes.
need a break,
Yeah.
right? So then that comes into that build piece. We can get really detailed down to the nitty-gritty with it, but all it does is allow us to just have more understanding of our own needs,
Yeah.
right?
I love this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so clear that like you're so passionate about this and I love the topic. We could probably keep going on this,
Mm-hmm.
but your passion for this also comes into your passion for helping other
Yeah.
people in the healthcare industry. So being a part of your collective community that you've created, Grow
Mm-hmm.
Beyond Collective, what do they get out of community? I know you
Yeah.
kind of touched on this is probably part of that build piece
Mm-hmm.
is finding that support system. So give us a little insight into what it looks like to be a member in your
Yeah.
community.
Yeah. So a member of our community gets to connect with other practitioners who are like-minded twice a month virtually. And we do that. What we do in those meetings is we learn together about a clinic-based topic or about a practice-based topic. So we've talked about sensory integration in practice, but we've also talked about time management and
Mhm.
understanding where our day is going and how we can manage our time to support our practice
Mhm.
and our own needs. And so we get together for that. The next meeting that we do, we get to collaborate and touch on maybe a challenging case that we're dealing with, or if there is a new method that we're trying out, if someone else has tried it, can you give me some feedback? Or if there's an assessment that I didn't know exists. And so the discussion that happens in those meetings becomes so rich and just open because it is a safe space that I want to create that is separate from your employer, separate
Yeah.
from your practice, and just a space for you to be you. And then also share your passion for what you're doing for other people. The third and fourth component of the community that my members receive is a self-care component
Mm.
because we are often told and recommended and given so much advice from either our supervisors or other people around us, like, oh, you have to take time for yourself. You're caring for so many other people. You're pouring from an empty cup. And it's like,
Mhm.
yeah, okay. With what time,
Yeah. How do we
or
do
like, how do
that?
I do it?
Mhm.
And so I didn't want to be just another person telling them to take care of themselves. And so another component is we have partnered with Terra Firma Experiences, a local business who puts together different meditations and care
Amazing.
components. And she is also a nurse, so she
Yeah.
understands the healthcare field. So she has curated specific meditations and yoga nidras for us
Love that.
that our members get every month. And so I wanted to be able to virtually still provide something for my members to take home with them and do whenever they need to. And so that is that third component. And finally, they get some one-on-one time with me just to, whether it be vent about what's going on at
Mhm.
work or in practice, or how are they balancing family stuff, and then to follow up on some good things that have been happening. Last time you mentioned marketing was a really big challenge, and here's the goal you had before we meet again, or here's the action step you're going to take. Did you take that? So just a way to follow up and have that mentorship and that guidance built in individually, right? So it's a really intimate group, and it's a safe space to be open and honest about what's going on in your practice, but then to also receive that open and honest feedback and collaboration that we may not often get, especially in a more rural area like this. We can become very isolating. Even in a practice where I've had coworkers, I was going to rural areas and being the only OT in the room most often. And so it was isolating, so creating this new space has become a real passion of mine to then integrate the things that I'm asking of people when I do bring up this manifest, disrupt, and build. This is where I get to put it into practice and build something that people can come to as practitioners.
Yeah. Well, my business brain loves that. You teach a concept and a framework, and then when people get to the end, then say, great, now where do I find that? Here you go.
Yeah.
It's the Grow Beyond Collective community. So I love that. And as you've launched this new business, because it is a newer community within the last year or so, you've made a big pivot. So from an OT and having an in-person practice, which is how we originally connected years ago, and now having this virtual community, what are you doing differently? Because you felt that sense of burnout in your brick and mortar space and as you were building up your personal practice. But I imagine second time around, just from personal experience too, you're going to do this differently and you're going to walk your talk and you're going to practice what you preach. So how are you building your collective right now different than your first business?
Yes, I am doing it completely differently this time around. Like I mentioned before, I was following what was a blueprint essentially of here's what a good practice looks like, a successful practice. And I feel like I did it fast and furious in like a 3-year span. I really just like went for it. And I had this beautiful support from Sister Circle and from my family. And they were everybody was encouraging. And I was like, this is exactly what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Keyword is supposed to be. And what I'm doing differently this time is following a lot more of my gut. Obviously following the path, the business strategy of making sure expenses don't override the income, keeping things,
your overhead.
That logical piece of everything. However, when I'm faced with a decision of what to do next, I default to the should. Here's what you should do. And then I say, wait, is that what I actually want to do? And it sometimes is hard to find that answer because I'm still learning.
Yeah.
I'm still on this journey of recognizing what my piece looks like and just recently I'm working on reorganizing my weekly schedule to be more in tune with what I need versus being available for everybody else. And I sent out my schedule to somebody and I was like, I had originally put an extra 3 or 4 hours of service providing in there because I was like, well, I should have afternoon hours available for those people. And I was like, I don't want those hours.
Yeah.
And I like literally as I was writing them, I was like, I don't want these. And then I thought to myself, like, well, Becca, why are you writing them?
Yeah.
Because I wanted to be, and I still do. Like, I feel that tug of wanting to be available for everybody. And that's just who I am. That's part of my, that's part of my design, my working genius enablement, but I knew for a fact that when the time came and those hours got scheduled, I knew I would be like, I don't want to go.
Dreading it. Yeah.
And it's like, well, this is your chance to not do that.
Yeah.
And so I'm pulling back more than I feel comfortable with.
Yeah.
And this whole journey of creating Grow Beyond Collective has been a really fun challenge. And being in the uncertainty of what it's going to look like next month, what it's going to look like in a year, is so different for me. We even through college, we're like, I have this class, this class, this class. I'll graduate.
What's upcoming.
Right. I'll graduate this year and then I'll do this. And it's like, I've had a 5-year plan for how long? And it's like, I don't even have a 1 year.
Plan's out the window.
There's not even a 1 year plan. It's just like, but the plan is to keep this peace.
Yes.
Right. And maintain this peace and find it and just keep discovering it versus pushing against it and pushing against what I actually value and want. And that I learned early on that, one of the reasons I didn't discover what my major was until like my 4th year of college.
Yeah.
And it's because my career was never my priority. Like I really was prioritizing, I was looking forward to having a family.
Yeah.
But part of me was like, well, you should be a career woman and you should do this and you should do all of this. And and like now I'm like, no.
Yeah, you're like,
no,
says
I
who?
get to, right. No, I get to be excited about just like decorating my house, for having time to decorate my house for the holidays, or getting to take time off to, go to something my son is doing. And especially now that he's in school, I want to be there for him.
Yes.
And so keeping all of that at the forefront as I make decisions for Grow Beyond is definitely what I'm doing differently this time.
Yeah. You
versus
are
the other way around.
building, yes, your business around what you want for your personal life and your family and who you are as an individual first.
Yeah.
And then you get to put in the priorities, and you still get to do the things you want to do in your life and business,
Right.
but you get to be excited about both and not feel like you have to do these many hours and put on this many things just to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And so, yes.
And that is a really privileged place to be. I recognize that because I have a supportive spouse. And I want to keep being grateful for that and allowing for that gratitude. And at the same time, using it. Like I have this privilege, and I get to create a platform where I get to support other people in a virtual way right now. Who knows where it goes, but it's just really important for me to now recognize I've disrupted the pattern.
Yes. Full
circle. I've disrupted the pattern of the shoulds and the following the blueprint. And now I'm trying to do this totally new thing where I'm building a life that is just important to me and maybe doesn't look good from the outside to somebody else who has a different idea of what success looks like. Yeah. But for me and my family, it does feel successful. It feels happy.
And you get to decide what that is.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of owning your own business and chasing your dreams, is no one else has to understand it. As long as you feel that peace at the end of the day, that's what matters. And also, don't discredit the fact that like you are on the other side of the coin, pushing and needing to pay those bills when you had that overhead.
Right.
So even though you might not feel that now, like you know what that feels like. And that's why you had to make those choices to say, I don't want to feel like this anymore.
No.
And there are seasons and periods of that sort of like kind of hustle phase when you are first starting your business, but you also get to decide, is this the way that I want to grow it? Yeah. And if it's not, then what else can I do? And that's the scary part of pivoting. And it's also the exciting part that you get to rebuild. So you really are in that building phase of the new pattern and the new feelings and emotions that you want to have. And I think that is just such a beautiful metaphor. Your framework fits into so many different things, even your own story.
Yeah, it's really an amalgamation of all the experience that's happened so far, along with what I've learned personally. So I'm just looking forward to. It's scary. I don't like the uncertainty. I don't.
Who does?
But I'm looking forward to seeing what path emerges for this community and for myself and my career, along with where my family goes.
Very excited for you. So tell us, how can we connect with you further or learn more about your collective?
Yeah, I am on Instagram. Honeybee OT is the handle for my practice, and Grow Beyond Collective is the handle for the community. And that's one of the best ways to get connected with me. You can also learn more about Grow Beyond Collective at growbeyondcollective.com. And that's another way to get in touch as well.
Great. And we'll link all of that in the show notes. So thank you so much for being here,
Becca.
It was great to have you.
Hey sis, if this episode spoke to you, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss our weekly conversations that drop every Monday. And would you share this with a fellow sister that needs to hear this message too? If you're craving sisterhood, soul, and strategy in action, I'd love for you to step inside our Sister Circle community, where we gather, grow, and build intentional businesses together in real life and real time. I promise, business is more fun in sisterhood. Until next time, keep leading with soul, honoring your season, and don't forget, I'm always cheering for you.